All right, what's up, me Duole podcast listeners? Episode 44, just a short introduction before we get on with introducing you to the owner of Maui Cyclery. Many of you have seen some social posts or maybe Strava posts of team members climbing the mighty Haleakala. And so we thought we'd introduce you to Donnie, the owner of Maui Cyclery, and get to meet him, who he is, how he runs the shop, how he runs his Maui tours, and how our team is connected to the Haleakala climb, and to learn from Donnie. So a great 45 minutes spent with him chatting about his career, how he opened the shop, some advice for anyone going to ride in Maui, and how you can make the best of your trip. So hopefully you enjoy it. Hopefully you get to meet him personally. What a great guy, super smart, very personal, and such a hard worker over there at that shop, serving all of our team all summer long, all the time, making sure we don't die up on that 10,000 foot climb. So all our thanks to Donnie, grateful for Maui Cyclery and how they take care of us. Hopefully you enjoy the episode, and all our thanks to Donnie. Enjoy. All right, what's up, everybody? Stuart here with Spencer and Donnie. We're going to introduce Donnie in just a sec. Grateful you guys are on. Welcome.
Good to be here.
Hey, yep. Donnie's joining us from a totally different time zone. He's in Maui, from Maui Cyclery. Chip's going to do a brief introduction to him and his shop and how he's connected to the team. But first of all, Chip, any big announcements we're working on here before we get started?
For sure. Team camp is right around the corner, and people are getting loud on the group me, chatting about getting excited and what kind of fun raffle prizes are there and great routes. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. So on the website, there's just a little link that says Team Camp 2022, has all the raffle prizes, kit, colors, routes. So all the information is housed there. We have over 70 guys registered to do Team Camp this year. So should be a blast. We're doing kit pickup next Wednesday, February 16th up at Wasatch, 6:00. So if you've ordered spandex, we'll be there. Everything's prepared and ready to rock. So
Stu, we had to have filled 120 bags last night full of hats, socks, and gear.
Yeah, Chip, me, Harmon, and Todd did 2 hours of putting all the gear together.
Yeah.
So I'm ready to work in Donnie's shop. I feel like I'm ready to put spandex on racks right now. So
yep. Right.
Chip, do you want to introduce Donnie? You know him
Absolutely.
a lot better than I do. Let's do it.
Yeah. Well, we want to welcome Donnie. Some of you have met Donnie that have been over to Maui Cyclery, and anyone that has climbed Haleakala has for sure stopped into Donnie's shop. So whether you have met him or not, you'll meet him throughout this podcast, and you'll meet him in the future as we work more with him. My relationship with Donnie goes back a number of years, because Donnie has spent a fair amount of time here in Salt Lake City with Chris and Heidi Nilsson, John Olson on our team who rides with us. That's John's sister. And Donnie's spent a lot of time here in Salt Lake, and I've spent a fair amount of time in Maui riding with Donnie. So an introduction to Donnie is, I'm going to share it, that Donnie started cycling during his freshman year of college in 1983. He began road and mountain bike racing in 1985, continued until 1999. In 2001, he started guiding bike tours in Maui. We all know that Donnie truly loves people and sharing cycling with them, giving his guests the best experience possible every time they ride is really Donnie's goal. And so whether that means tips to improve their riding or sharing extra information regarding Hawaii,
Chip, can I jump in? I'm going to jump into the introduction.
Yep.
Donnie will never remember this, but it was 2014. Me and my wife are on the island. We're going up for the first time, and he takes an extra 15 minutes to tell me weather conditions, wind, bottles. And then he says, if you are wet at the top, do not go down. You will end up in the hospital. And so I got rained on from the ranger station to the top, and it was 42 degrees at the top. And when you get to the top, you're like, oh, I'm fine. I'm warm. In a matter of 2 minutes, I was like uncontrollably shaking. And I could just hear Donnie's words ringing in my ear, like, you're going to wreck your vacation if you descend down. So I called Kristen and she came and picked me up at the top. Anyway, thank you, Donnie.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get more into that, but thank you.
Yep. That's a great ad there. The last piece I would say is, as Donnie loves what he does because he meets amazing people from all over the world, just like Stu's example there. So what does Donnie do? Donnie is the founder of Maui Cyclery. He lives on Maui. He rides, he surfs, he hikes. He's an outdoor enthusiast. And one of Donnie's quotes here is that my goal is to help cyclists who come to Maui on vacation to experience what I get to do daily, which is cycling. And so Maui Cyclery is going on 14 years that he's been over there. So Donnie, welcome, and so good to have you here with us.
Thank you. It's actually 21 years now.
Is that right?
That I've been doing I started the tours in 2001. So the shop started in 2005. So a couple of years later, I got the bike shop going, but the tours is my primary gig that I started first, and the shop was kind of an afterthought, but
got it.
The riding here is just so good. That's kind of why I started doing the tours. I would get questioned daily from people that would see me at the beach with cycling tan lines and a power bar cap on, like, you must be a cyclist. You got shaved legs, where can we ride? Where can we run a good bike? And it just kept happening over and over. I'm like, maybe there's an opportunity here for me to, start a little business. And that's kind of what motivated me to get going originally. And then it's just kind of grown from there. I've ridden with, I don't know, I haven't kept track, but I'd say, 20,000 plus people over the years from all over the world that have come here on vacation. A lot of returning people, which is really cool. And like last year, I had this guy who rode with me in 2001. He was 63 years old. I took him up Haleakala, and he had only started when he was 60. And at 63, climbed Haleakala. He was pretty stoked. But then he came back last summer, and he's 83 now. And we climbed Haleakala again.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, pretty inspiring. 83-year-old guy, and he's, still able to ride up Haleakala under his own power and on a regular road bike. And it was pretty impressive. I had a couple other guys on the ride that day, and they were like kind of thinking, oh, this is going to be a slow ride with this guy. He actually dropped him, and he was the first guy at the top. So
boom.
It was kind of cool. Yeah, it was cool to see. So that kind of stuff inspires me to keep doing it, and seeing people like you guys that come back, and, the people that you send here. I was actually in Salt Lake one day at I think it was like Lululemon or one of the stores there, shopping with Chris and Heidi, and I get some yell out of the parking lot, Donnie, I'm like looking around, some guy I'd done a tour with, a couple years prior. It was like out in the middle of nowhere. It's like, that's pretty cool to see that stuff, So yeah, I love what I do, and I love the people that I get to be with, and it's like guys like you and Chris and Heidi and all the other, Salt Lake people that I've met over the years that come here, and so that's kind of why I keep doing what I do. It seems like, oh, that guy's got an easy gig, going over there. He's riding with people, and that's all he does. But I'm running my shop, I'm running my tours, I'm running cycling camps. I work 7 days a week, and only since COVID did I ever get a little bit of a break there. For 6 months, we were slow on the tours and slow on the runs, but the bike shop was really super busy because of all the locals wanting to get out on bikes and ride. So I really haven't had that much of a break. I started taking 1 day off a week, but then, I got too busy again. Now I'm pretty much working 7 days a week again.
Wow,
so, man. Anyway, I'm fortunate that I do what I do, and I really love it. Sometimes I need a little bit of a break, but, for now, I'll take it. I'd rather be busy than not busy. So,
well, I was saying to Chip before we started, it is not an easy gig to run a successful, profitable, good shop that people have kind words to say about, that do what they're supposed to do, that take care of their customers. I mean, it is I can't imagine how much time and effort you put in to making that shop run the way it does. So
Yeah,
big kudos.
it's challenging. And the people, getting help today has been a little bit more of a challenge than it used to be.
Yeah.
The demand for good people is, all the shops across the country are all looking for good people. And it sounds like it's just a common denominator for all of us. And it's even more, a little bit tougher for me. I got a smaller pool of people to pull from than you guys,
Yeah. So
yeah.
true.
Anyway.
Donnie, let's talk about where this passion began. And you actually grew up in New Orleans. Correct me
Yes.
if I am wrong.
Yeah.
So
No, I grew up, in New Orleans.
Yeah. Take it from there. How does someone in New Orleans say cycling is what? And I mean, look at where you from New Orleans to Maui into cycling is a path that would be tough to explain. You explain it to us.
Okay, so I start as a kid. My dad was a motocross racer, so that's kind of the early days. It was BMX and motocross from 5 years old. I started riding dirt bikes and bicycles at 3 years old, and then once I was 8 years old, I started racing motocross and BMX, and then as I got a little older in high school and up to college, I raced pretty much just motocross. No more BMX. Just did motocross. Did high school sports. Played soccer and football, basketball, those sports. But my true passion was motocross. And then when I went to college, my family was like, "Hey, why don't you take a break from this motocross thing, get your degree, and if you still want to do it later in life, get back into it." So I meet a girl in my freshman year in college, and her brother's a bike racer and a triathlete. And so I started riding with this guy. And he took me to a couple of events, and I just fell in love with cycling, road cycling. And then in Baton Rouge, where I went to school, it was at LSU. We had a velodrome track that was built for the '84 Olympics, and that thing was an Olympic qualifier. So they had a velodrome in town, and I started riding on the velodrome. And then the guy who introduced me to the velodrome was this old British racer named Brian Apsey, and he took me under his wing and basically taught me everything about track racing, mountain bike racing, road racing. And then, so that was how I got started. Was this guy basically took an interest in me. He had a son that was about my age too. So the two of us were good friends and raced together. And then I started traveling the country racing once I got good enough, up in my categories, and got to see the rest of the United States. I'm like, I got to get out of Louisiana and get, somewhere where it's better for training and racing. So I moved to Colorado for about a year and a half. I was living in Boulder and Aspen. And then eventually I made it out to Las Vegas. So I was in Las Vegas for about 10 years. I had some family out there. So doing a lot of racing on the West Coast. And then from Vegas, I moved to Maui in '99. So, and I was kind of over racing. I'd done it for 15 years. And, the suffering, as you know, it's all about welcoming the pain on the bike. And so I was kind of over the suffering thing, but I continued to ride when I moved here and saw how good the riding was. And my passion for the bike is still there today. I love riding. I just don't have the desire to race anymore. I kind of get worked up when people come here that are racers. I kind of start thinking about that racing mindset, and maybe I could go race with the old guys or something. But then I'd like, nah, don't go there. So,
Yeah.
I went and did Sea Otter in 2004 or 5, and I hadn't raced for 5 years, and just jumped in to kind of do a little fitness check, see where I was at. The rest of the guys got to remind myself how much suffering you have to do just to even hang on in a, regular race, so
Yeah.
I was fine. I haven't really raced since then. I thought I was going to train, every year. I'm like, I'm going to go do the Masters at this next age level. When I turned 40, I was going to go do the 40. So I'm like, nope. Then 45, no, 50, no, now I'll be 57, coming up on 57. And I'm like, no, I don't think so. But anyway, it's been fun.
So Donnie, you're in Vegas, and then from Vegas, you begin to take kind of like hosted tours into Maui. And then that kind of springboarded. Kind of walk us through that transition from
Yeah,
Vegas over
so
to Maui.
in Vegas, I actually had a pro cycling team. So I ran a domestic team for 3 years over there. First year in 97, we were sponsored by a big outdoor billboard company in Las Vegas. And then the following 2 years, I was sponsored by Outback Steakhouse. And I had 10 guys, and we had a good team. A couple of guys from Europe came back over and raced for me. So we traveled around, did a bunch of the West Coast stuff, do the nationals, a few bigger events, did Redlands, so we were doing some of the bigger races. And then 99, I decided I wanted to move to Maui. So at the end of the season, that's when I made the move, and then kind of dissolved the team. But then once I was thinking about doing this business, it was like basically like running a pro cycling team again, Yeah, you're kind of taking your group, and what I did, I was trying to give them the experience of being a pro, like how they're totally taken care of. So when my business first started, it was more like a pro cycling experience than what it's currently kind of, morphed into this more of a guided tour business. So I would give everybody, we wore the same cycling kits, we had the same bikes, we had, support vehicle with support help, and kind of treated them like they were on a pro team for a day or two, or however long they wanted to do it. And that's kind of how it worked. But then once the shop came into the whole picture, the thing kind of changed. I just didn't have the time to commit to it like I did when I was just tours only. So, but I kept it going. We've done some tours in some other places. I go to the Big Island, I go to Molokai, I've been to France, Holland, England, did some other tours with my clients that ride with me here. But now it's pretty much just Maui. I'm so busy here, I can't really break away and do these other tours. So, but that's kind of how it started, was from a pro cycling team to doing these tours. And in the early 2000s, there wasn't a lot of tour businesses out that are currently there now. I mean, there's so many people that are doing it. So I was kind of like pioneering it, trying to figure it out back then. Insurance companies didn't want to insure me because they didn't know what this thing was, and they hadn't insured any other companies. I mean, it was crazy what I used to have to pay for insurance just to keep this thing running. That was like probably my biggest expense back then. So anyway, it's cool to see how it's come about, and to see the whole Lance Armstrong thing come about. When I first started doing my tours, he was just, starting to come on the scene, and people were starting to, get into road cycling more. And so it was kind of cool. And he used to come here and train back in the early days. So I'd actually get to ride with him. And so it was kind of nice back then, It would be just him and I for 3, 4, 5 hours, just kind of hanging out, going for, these kind of solo rides. And he wasn't the rock star he became yet. So it was kind of cool to be with him back then. So.
Donnie, on that note, why don't you tell the group, like, your top 5 celebrities or pros you can mix and match that you have ridden with while being in Maui? I mean, there's Lance Armstrong for one.
Yeah. So Lance, I used to ride with him, mountain bike, road bike. I've been surfing with the guy. He's, we had a good time back in the early 2000s. And then, I mean, over the years, once you kind of break into the celebrity and rock star thing, then they feel comfortable with you, and they'll, then they bring their friends. And so it's kind of grown over the years. I mean, I've ridden with, rock star guys. I don't know if I should really say all these guys' names, because they kind of want to keep it private. Yeah. I don't take pictures with them. I don't do any, autographs. I just ride with them. But there's a few that have houses here that call me on a regular basis. And
cool.
During COVID, some of them were hiding out here.
Yeah.
So kind of nice to, I would just basically ride with them in the mornings, a couple of days a week. A lot of pro surfers like Kai Lenny, Laird Hamilton, those guys I've ridden with over the years, and they were all kind of on lockdown for COVID. So I was taking them on mountain bike rides, road rides. I've ridden with Andy Hampston, and Ryder Hegedal used to live over here. So I used to ride with him a lot. Christian Vandeveld and Tyler Farrar, and Andrew Talansky. A lot of those guys would kind of come and kind of hang out and hide out over here and train before like the Tour California, before they would go down to do the Tour Down Under. There would be like a 3 weeks or a month they kind of hang out over here. And I just kind of help. I couldn't stay with these guys for very long, but I could actually tell them where to ride and where to go. And maybe on some of the roads with a lot of descending, I could, maybe make a little time on them, and then they go blowing by me, and then they'd turn around, come back and pick me up, so anyway. Yeah, it's kind of cool. I've got to ride with a lot of kids that were like Cat 3s, and then you watch them develop into a Cat 2, a Cat 1, and they become a pro. And it's kind of cool to see that progression from when you first rode with them. And, I hope I helped them out, give them some tips on skills and that kind of stuff. So I tell people I'm not really like a coach per se, like on how to train, but I can teach you how to ride a bike way better than you currently ride it, so
Nice.
tips and being efficient on your bike. It's like, I see a lot of people wasting a lot of energy, and I kind of can, help them improve their skills on the bike. And that's kind of what I really like to do,
Man. So Donnie, when you are right now, you are super busy. We would love to kind of hear what a day in the life is like in Maui.
What's the shop like?
Donnie style.
Shop.
What and then transition into when you don't have anything to do on a day, or you're totally covered, you don't have camp, or you don't need to meet clients in the shop. What does Donnie do? Talk to us about your lifestyle.
So generally, I stretch in and do these breathing exercises first thing in the morning, like every day. Have to do that. If I don't, I pay, and as we get older, we have to keep our flexibility and our balance and stuff, sharp if you want to keep doing this. My plan is to have, a good, long, healthy life doing the activities I like to do as long as possible. And that's going to be the challenge. And it's a lot of work, it's like, I can't believe how much stuff I have to do just so that I can do these sports that I like to, but I get up in the morning, stretch, do some breathing exercises, brush my teeth, and then usually I'm out the door, I go surf, and try to surf for an hour in the morning. I'm 2 miles from a really good surf break just down the street here. So surf for an hour, come home, have breakfast, and then the bike shop opens now. I get here at 9:30, get the day going. If I don't have any tours that day and I have time, then I'd go mountain biking. I really like mountain biking, or I still ride dirt bikes. I still ride motorcycles. And I really, love it. I just don't have the time to do it like I would prefer. So the mountain bike, there's a lot more people and a lot more places to go on the mountain bike than the dirt bike. So I do mountain biking, and then try to go home for lunch. Sometimes I live like within a mile from my bike store, which is kind of cool. I ride one of those one wheels around, the little electric one wheel.
Nice.
And that thing, I tell you, it's helped my surfing and my balance. Wow. And it's actually a bit of a workout. When you're done, like my legs are on fire after I ride that thing for a couple miles.
Wow.
Can't believe it. It looks like you're just kind of standing there and letting it do all the work.
Right.
But you actually have to engage yourself. So, and then it actually helps me for my water sports, foiling or surfing, any of the windsurf, kite surf, all these other water sports that I do. Riding that little one wheel thing kind of is nice. So I run home, have lunch, come back, and it's kind of a long day. I don't get out of here till 6:37 p.m. My wife I probably would stay here all night if my wife didn't call me, hey, honey, dinner's ready. We're waiting on you, So anyway, if I don't have anything, just one total day all by myself, then probably go mountain biking, or surf. Those are my two things I prefer to do. Yeah. My life is ride the road bike and I love it, but when I don't have a tour, I don't ride my road bike that much. So
yeah, I have been lucky enough to surf with Donnie and to ride with Donnie, and I'll share two things. One, as Donnie mentioned earlier, when he descends, it is no joke. He is one of the fastest descenders I've seen coming down Little Cottonwood.
Nice.
And surfing, last time we went, Donnie challenged me to surf via stand-up paddleboard, and that was a lot harder than I expected. Donnie was pro, of course, and I did my best to watch Donnie ride every single wave in perfectly. So
nice. That's fun.
Stu, share with us your plans for Cycle to the Sun, and then Donnie, we want your feedback on the event.
Well, I
Okay.
mean, it's like everybody here, Donnie, and I'm sure you know, it's like the Mecca. It's like the pinnacle because we climb when we ride, we're just climbing. And so to put your feet in the sand, then stand on top of the volcano, everybody wants to do it. And I was super intrigued by Cycle to the Sun, like making it a race. So I've been over a few times, but like when it comes to you, when it comes to like this idea of climbing that volcano, I want to hear. I mean, if me and Chip are like the dumbest cyclists you've ever met, like what do you say to a guy? Like, what's the pep talk for going up this thing?
So most people that come here that want to go up, I mean, it's almost on a daily basis, renting bikes from me. I do guided, assisted rides up there too, but the people that want to go on their own, I just tell them, make sure you're eating a lot, drinking a lot, and don't go out too hard, too early. The first third is the easiest of the ride. I kind of break it into thirds. First third from Paia at sea level to Kula, which is at about 3,200 feet. That's the easiest of the ride. And a lot of people burn too many matches early right through there. And then the middle section, the middle third is where the switchbacks are, and they're averaging 8%, right there in the middle. And then they're toast. After that, they get to the, entrance of the park, and they got a little bit of gas left. And usually at 8,000 feet is when they're on the side of the road, cramped up, laying down, in the cinder, flopping around. And I've seen it. It's like over and over. It's like, just keep put it on repeat. I'm like, it's like Groundhog Day here watching these people. So I really like, if I ride with them, I can rein them in early on, and then they're successful. And then people will make it. Generally, it just might have taken them an hour longer than they thought, just because they had to stop so many times and recover. And then living on electrolytes, I live on those little capsules of electrolytes. I'm not a big Gatorade or sports drinker. I prefer the take them through the little Endurolites or whatever type you like, whatever brand you like. But I prefer that and water. But you just have to drink a lot. You lose a lot more here than you would think.
Yeah.
And I've had people that have never cramped. They ride all over the world. They've been riding for years. They're like, I don't cramp. I'm like, okay, we'll see today. And they cramp. And it's so funny to see. Then I'll give them a couple of these electrolyte capsules, and they're good to go. And they're like just blown away by, what was that stuff you gave me? Basically, they're just not properly hydrated. So most people don't drink enough early on. I'm watching them too. If I'm riding with them, I'm like, hey, when we get to 3,200 feet, those bottles should be dry. Where a lot of people, maybe have been through half of one bottle. I'm like, okay, you're going to pay later, buddy, if you don't get caught up, on your hydration. So fuel too. A lot of people don't like to eat while they ride. And I think it's important to kind of make yourself eat. And what you like to eat is up to you. We're all different. We all like different stuff, and different stuff, sits better or worse on your stomach. So I'm kind of minimal. I do a little bit of gels and maybe a bar or two, or peanut butter and honey sandwich or something like that. But I don't try to eat a whole lot, but I keep fueling the whole time. And then that'll keep getting me up there. And I've ridden with people from Florida, from Texas, from places, Louisiana, where I'm from, that have no hills, and they still can climb Haleakala. So it's important. Like, people will call me and say, hey, what kind of prep should I do before I come to ride Haleakala? I'm like, you just need to do some long days in the saddle, So it's more about 5-hour rides in the saddle than it is about doing hill repeats on some, 2-mile long climb you got in your neighborhood or whatever. So that's the big thing. It's just be able to stay on the bike for that long and exert some effort. So
Nice.
that's the main thing. I tell people it's very similar to doing like a century ride. That's kind of what I feel like when I'm done with the Haleakala ride. It's like you did 100-miler on the, kind of maybe a rolling 100-miler. That's kind of what it feels like to me,
Do you think the race will be back for 2023?
I mean, we're pushing it for this year, actually. So 2022, yeah, June 25th is the date, and I'm just waiting for confirmation from the National Park Service. So that's always kind of my holdup, is the National Park guys.
Right.
And the problem is, every year or two they replace their people with new people. So now I'm dealing with whole new personnel up there. Nice. Maybe they haven't even seen the event before, and they just moved to the island. Now I have to go through the whole program with them and show them, how it works. And, it's been a really good event for the last 14 years I've been putting it on. We've had no problems, no incidents, no accidents, nothing major happening up there. And, all the people that do it are stoked that, it's very professionally run, and, the scoring, timing, everything. That we do a really big party afterwards, awards party. Everybody pretty much gets some good swag out of the event. And, it's a cool event for the island, but the national park's always been my kind of thorn in my side. If it was the race ended at 6,500 feet, it'd be easy to put on, but dealing with the national park's a little bit more of a challenge. So we're crossing our fingers that I get an answer in the next week that it's a go. Cause basically it's almost full right now. People that have rolled over from the last couple of years of cancellations, and all the new people that are wanting to do it. So
nice. What about, do you take your tours back down? Do you guys ride down once you get to the top?
So yeah, basically I only support before the entrance to the national park. There's no commercial businesses that can go into the park anymore. Mm. They cut that out about 10 years ago. They had a couple accidents with some of these companies that do the downhill, take you to the top, drop you off, let you come down. Well, they had some unfortunately some fatalities, and so they cut all commercial businesses out inside the park. There's a couple that have issued permits too that, bring them to the top, show them the top, but nobody's riding bicycles inside of there. And so I'll ride one with 65, and then I ride back down with, whoever. Some people want to keep going. Some people are ready to rip back down. And then most people are on their own from there to the top. So they do ride back down. A couple of weeks ago, though, I did have to go up and rescue a few people that was so cold that they had anyway. So I had to go up and rescue. I had 3 people that had rented bikes from me, and they went up there and they made it to the top. And it was like, we had a winter storm that came in probably 3 weeks ago and maybe a month ago. And they got trapped up. They got trapped up there, and the Park Service guys actually called me and said, "Hey, can you come get these guys?"
Wow.
So when I got up there, they were all huddled up around inside of one of the, park ranger buildings, just frozen. And one of the ladies was like, "I've never been so cold in my life." And she was actually crying because she thought she was going to die. She was that cold.
What?
Right.
This lady is a tough lady. Like, she's done the Ram Race Across America. She's done a lot of double century rides. She was a really good cyclist, really tough lady. And it was that cold up there. And so I just warn people. I've had quite a few end up in the hospital with hypothermia that come from Alaska, come from Calgary, from all these cold climates, but don't realize how much energy they burned on the way up there. And so when they come back down, their body just cannot keep them warm,
Yeah.
And
that's what you told me.
Working very hard. Yeah. So it's brutal. I've done it before and raced down and jumped in the shower for a half an hour and wide open hot, just trying to, warm my extremities back up.
I know.
Brutal. Yeah. Brutal.
Hey, Donnie, if I can share, so we're going to transition a little bit into some feedback from some of our Duoles that have been there and have worked with you, and then into what everyone's anticipation is that, hey, Chip, Stu, when is Team Camp going to be in Maui? And this is going to kind of lead us into that. So Dean Walker was recently over there. He sent me this long text message just kind of praising Donnie and the shop. And he said, and we just want to share this with the team. Just wanted to give you my experience with Donnie and this trip. I have met him several times before and rented bikes from him previously, and he was always kind and helpful. This trip was different though. I arrived here and had some issues with my seat post clamp on my bike. He did his best to make it work, and we couldn't get that part fixed. That was his bike that he brought over. Fortunately, I had the option of getting a new part brought over from home with a niece. In the meantime, he got me set up on a good rental for a discounted price. He made sure it was in perfect order, took the measurements off my bike, and made the appropriate adjustments. He also cleaned and lubed it before sending me out the door. And then we ran into him out on a ride at Lorraine's Banana Bread, which sounds awesome, by the way. And he was there to ride with the group a little bit. Here's a picture with us and Donnie. So it's just experience after experience that we're hearing back from our team members that are visiting Maui Cyclery, working with Donnie, getting the ride set up, experiencing just the best days of the year on the bikes in Maui. So Donnie, if the team was to say, hey, let's do a camp over there with you, we could actually make that a reality, it sounds like.
Yeah, so I've been doing camps for probably the last 15 years, all different group levels, from, you know, high-end pro guys to club teams like yours, or, you know, and everything in between. So I just finished doing 2 camps with Chris Carmichael and his group. I've got 2 more camps coming up in the next couple of weeks with 2 other groups. So the camps it's a good idea. It's fun. We do a week-long ride somewhere different every day. That's the nice thing with Maui. We have like so many different ride routes here. Anything from, you know, rolling stuff to climbing all day long, as you know, with Haleakala, and everything in between, and a lot of really good weather all year round, and a lot of little microclimates. So it's interesting every day that we do these camps, and I try to break it up and maybe do 1 water day in the middle. So maybe ride like 3 days, then take 1 day. We'll do like a ride to the beach. So we'll get like a recovery ride, maybe an hour, take them to do a water day, surf with them, take them on ocean kayaks, you know, that kind of thing. Especially this time of year, the whales are on the island here. The humpback whales come from like December through April. So if you're in that time zone, you get, you know, kind of a cool whale watch. Those things will come like right up to you on your stand-up board or in a kayak. It's kind of cool. Yeah, it's pretty neat. And then back on the bike for another couple days, and usually try to end it with a Haleakala stinger at the end, you know. So, and it works out good. Like the last camp we did, I think we had 23 hours in the saddle, and, you know, 350 miles, and I think 30,000 feet of climbing, something like that was. Dang. We put in. And, you know, if you're prepared for that, it's great. If not, then we can always circumnavigate that. I can take you on shorter routes. We can break the group up, you know. So it kind of covers all spectrums. And we even had a couple people on pedal assist road bikes that kind of rode with the group that wouldn't have been able to ride with us otherwise. So I do have some Pedorellos in my fleet with the E motor assist, which kind of helps. So yeah, nice. But that's kind of the camps. You know, the camps are concentrated weeks, and then I have a chef that way hire for the group to cook every day. We have massage therapists after you're done with the rides, and you know, so it's a full on, you know, like you're a pro for the week, and you get to be in Maui. So kind of cool.
So good.
You know, Donnie, you've met and been with a lot of, like, I mean, you work all day with kind of the weird breed that is the cyclist. When you look at like the people you admire, your mentors, or the guys that you say, I want to be like him, is there anything that stands out from like a life advice perspective that you could share with us as we wrap up? Whether it's balance or fitness, or like you were saying earlier, taking care of your body. Is there anything like Donnie's rules for happy cyclist?
Yeah. So, I mean, I need to actually put I do write these things down, but yeah, you know, because I get to ride with a big, diverse group of people, and a lot of them are healthy because they are cyclists, you know, that it's kind of neat. I get to share my knowledge from all these people. I'm like a little hub here. They're flying in, they're riding with me from all over. And so, yeah, I'm teaching them stuff. They're teaching me stuff. And some of the things I share with a lot of people are the books that I read. And the books I read are mostly about health and nutrition, and the more modern stuff that is coming into play now because of the technology that we have today. So these doctors and health professionals have a lot more information on our health, and so it can help us be healthier people, you know. So I share a lot of those books. I just finished my 4th book on breathing techniques, and I've been for the last like 5 finding different books about breathing and the techniques and then rereading them. And that's been my biggest health increase. And then during COVID, I had a doctor here, Dr. Mark Hyman he's from the East Coast, and he's written about 18 books himself on functional medicine. And so I got to ride with that guy quite a bit and spent a lot of time with him. So he was a real good, big influence on me. Laird Hamilton was probably one of the bigger influences when I first moved to the island. He was already here and doing his thing. And I don't know if you know who that guy is, but
You bet.
he's super healthy. He's all about nutrition and working out and staying fit. So he's prepared for whatever comes at him, from surfing big waves to crazy thing was I'd go ride with the guy. I think we rode once or twice together. And then Andy Hampson and Ryder Hegedall were on the island. They wanted to do an East Maui Loop. So an East Maui Loop is, we go around the eastern part of the island. It's 110 miles, almost 11,000 feet of climbing. And I called Laird. I said, hey, you want to go with us? He's like, sure, man, I'll go with you. The guy hadn't ridden a bike for probably a year. He hopped on his bike and pulled it off,
Wow.
just because he's such a fit guy, so he was able to ride with two of the best cyclists in the world. And I'm just sitting there watching this whole thing unfold in front of me. All he had was coconut water and bananas for the next 6 hours or whatever, 8 hours.
Probably rode barefoot too. He's probably,
he had no shirt on. So he did have cycling shoes and a helmet, but yeah, it was fun. But anyway, so I get to ride with people like that, that inspire me. And I try to pass on information to them that I learned from other people, so. And that's constantly what I do on my rides. It's like the whole time we're riding, I'm kind of sharing my knowledge with them, and they're sharing their knowledge with me. And, you really get to build a good bond with these people. And you hope that, the stuff you're teaching them, just keeps filtering out to the people that they hang out with and ride with. So it's pretty inspiring. I'm stoked that I get, to do this. And I'm fortunate that all the people that come here on vacation that I've built these relationships with Chris and Heidi there in Salt Lake. They're like, I feel like they're part of my family. So we love coming there. I was coming there almost every year for a while until COVID. So I haven't been for a while. My wife and my daughter were there in June of last year for about a week. And I was kind of bumming I missed it because you guys have some great riding in Salt Lake for sure.
Yeah, we got to take you on the new Cascade Springs climb.
Yeah, yeah, you guys have some tough stuff, and I suffer with the elevation over there. That's Heidi and Chris can just crush me over there. I'm like, oh man, I'm never there long enough to really get used to the elevation. I'm there for 4 or 5 days, and it's like I'm just dying on it. Mill Creek or Big Mount, or what is it? Big Cottonwood, Little Cottonwood, Immigration, all those great climbs you guys have. Yeah, they all kick my butt, but I love it. I can see how, the guys from Salt Lake, when I get clients in and I hear that's where they're from, I know they're generally prepared for climbing, So, yeah.
Very cool.
And I was, last time I was there, just so surprising. It was like in the summer and just doing a ride up Immigration, how many people were on bicycles. It was really cool to see that your town is, kind of embracing the bike, and how many people are embracing the bike for fitness and health. So,
yeah.
True. Yeah. So true.
Thanks, Donnie.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Donnie. Well, as we start to wrap up, Donnie, we appreciate all the help, service that you provide to the team, and it sounds like, Stu, that we've got some future opportunities out there that
100%.
We're going to be sharing here in the next little while. So,
and by opportunities, Donnie's going to start grooming me and you for when he retires.
That's right.
Yeah,
someone's got to take over that shop.
If there's any guys that want to come hang out and work, I can always use good help, and especially guides on my tours.
Yep.
Over the years, I've had quite a few, and all of them are really good. But what happens is there's no racing here. And if you're a racer and you want to come train in the winter months, then I'll put you to work. But then when the spring comes, they usually disappear to go race again, and then I lose that person. So Right now, I currently have a pro triathlete that's working for me, and an amazing guy. I'm just kind of bummed he's here till May, and then he's going to be racing the rest of the year. But you know, if there's any guys out there in Salt Lake that want to come work in the shop or do tours or both, I'm always open, and I'll try to help them find a place to stay, and you know, show them the Maui lifestyle for however long they want to be. You know, So
good.
Yeah. And if any of your guys want to come out, you know, just rent a bike and go on their own, I'll lay them out on, you know, a nice ride route, put them on a nice bike. If they want to do a tour with me, that's all the better. I really prefer riding with people, but if they just want to be solo, go on their own, that's fine too. So,
Yep.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Donnie.
Donnie, thanks so much, man.
You're welcome.
Donnie's got to run. Work starting over there.
Okay,
Yes.
man. See ya.
Aloha.
Good day.